married a Thomas boy. And the two that married that was the two that I said was like cutting Jeff more. And me as a child, and as a teenage child, couldn't understand some of the things that happened. He just couldn't understand them. Now when Edwin and Lema married, Sam Stewart, my uncle, that was just 4 years older than me, told me that Christmas Day we was up at my grandmother Sally's, and Curtis Kolb, a cousin of mine, was going with Lema, and he thought he was going to marry. And he told me, said, Drusy, I can tell you something, but don't you tell nobody. Says, Edwin's going to steal Lema tonight, and they're going to run over and get married. And so then, that night, Papa got up looking around, and looking about, and I didn't know what was happening. Come back and told Mama, said, they got lanterns going all around the house, right here where my house is, Hathaway House. Said, they're going lanterns all out in the fields and around. Said, I don't know what's happening. I knew what was happening. Lema slipped off to marry Edwin, and old man Hathaway and them had found it out. They got lanterns hunting from the track. But I couldn't tell it. I was sworn to secrecy. And they married. And she just put herself and told me that's what she did when she married Edwin. He beat her up and did her just treated her like everything. And I didn't ever see him much more, hear much from him, till after his mother died. And when your grandmother died, his family stayed down here. They didn't leave. They made old man Malone leave that night after she married that day. And he left that night, his sons, and he left that night, and they decided they'd just stay here. They just stayed up there in the house and went on. And after Maggie Lou and Beatrice came here, and I got to see them that day up there, I just said something about it. I shouldn't have said it because it wasn't none of my business. I said, well, do y'all still have a part in the place? He said, well, Edwin come back and wants to live on it, and we just let him have it. And I don't know how it was and all, and I know he took it and kept it. Till then the trouble came in. They went down fishing one day and came back. He was bad to go off fishing. And the little boy was sick. And he died. He came home that night and the little boy died. And Ruby Lee, my sister, came out. And Edwin had a spell, and they had to see about arranging and burying the child. And I couldn't understand that the way Edwin did about it, no. And then, when Lema died, when Edwin died, well then, I saw how conditions were going then, and I didn't understand those. And then one was about a week then after Edwin died till Lema died, wasn't it?
No, it was a little longer than that.
Well, it might have been a month or two, I don't know, but it was a short time, and Lema died.
Edwin was in the hospital, you know.
And I couldn't understand that all in all. But I heard all these things that I was telling you about. I didn't know whether you... I'm looking at it. You guys ready?
Yes.
I'm looking at an article now that shows a picture of cousin Willie Hartwell Kolb. And I remember this man very well because his sister married Jeff Thomas and lived right next door neighbor to my family. And I grew up with him. And he lived up about halfway to Aberdeen. And I'd go by his place. And he was a one-legged man. And at that time, all I had for that one leg was a peg leg, just a peg leg. And he tried to farm up there, and it was interesting to me to see him try to plow. And he would try to plow with a plow that he could ride somewhere on it. And one day, Papa, every time we go by going to town in a wagon, Papa tell me the things as father to the son. And he says, Willie Kolb can do most anything, even though he's got a peg leg. And he tell me about how he did and all, and the gentleman stopped by and talked to his son. He had a store right side the road. And of course he was in politics, held some public jobs. And he told me about one time when he was a school teacher. So he taught school, and there's a one-room school, and there's some boys there, several, 4 or 5 boys come to school, and some of them was in their 20 years of age. And so one day, one of them, of course, they were bullies, and one day one of the boys gave trouble, and he whipped him, said he gonna whip him. And when he did, the boy went home and told his daddy that the boy said he gonna whip him. He come the next morning and whipped him. Well, Kolb went on to school as usual. And when he saw him coming, he walked out right side of the school building, and the school building was up about 3 feet off the ground. And when they got there, they come in there, and one of them grabbed him. And when one of the boys or the man grabbed him, he just fell back, right under the edge of the school building. And they couldn't get to him. And he had this boy in there holding him by his neck, and had his peg leg in under him, and he shoved his head up, and it hit the floor of the school building. And when he shoved his head, the fellow go to dodge him, he put that peg leg into his stomach, and gouged him in the stomach with his peg leg. So they all gave up, and let him do what he wanted to do. And a man could whip a man in 3 or 4 boys. See, Mr. Malone married my grandfather's sister the 2nd time. He married a goner and had 2 girls and 4 boys, Malone did. And she died. And of course he had to have somebody to raise the children. So he courted my grandfather's old maid sister. Of course she was a young lady at that time, and married her. And she had to take care of the children and raise the children. And she died. And she died, it wasn't very long till Jeff Thomas died. So then, we would see him going across there every day nearly, bringing Belle vegetables. And she told Grandma Sally, my grandmother, which was her first cousin, he was being mighty nice to her, and he was wanting to get married, but she didn't think she'd take him. But it wasn't long till I heard they'd married. And of course Irving didn't like it at all, and he did marry. She did marry. He was a pretty peculiar fellow, Mr. Malone was. Of course, you see, that made him my cousin by marrying my father's sister. And they married, and he gave them a lot of trouble. Gave Irving and them a lot of trouble. He wanted to spend it. He spent most of Belle's money. I understand. I don't know anything about it. But I know they bought a nice young pair of mules for a fellow to work the crop with. And I know the fellow came down here to me one day and wanted to sell me this on this side of the road. And of course I wanted it bad. So he said he wanted to sell it to me as Belle's land. And to tell me, I'm just quoting what the children said, that he ran through with a lot of her money. But the next day then, the children heard he wanted to sell the land, trying to get her to sell me the land, which I wouldn't have bought under any circumstances.